Yes, it's me again, back for a second Periscope in the morning. And it's because I'm so excited. I've got a new topic, something I just saw in the news, which I'm going to put together with you, put all the parts together. And we're going to get a peek at the future. I'm going to show you a future that nobody has shown you yet. And it's a good one. So this is all good news on this Periscope. Nothing but good news. And what goes good? What goes well? What goes well with good news? Coffee. Coffee and good news? Let's have some good news coffee. All right, so here's the setup. The biggest problem in the future, given that a lot of our other problems are solved, is how do you provide a decent life for all the people who won't be able to make enough money to buy the expensive things we consider the necessities for life. Those things would include, housing and food and healthcare, etc. So what do you do when there are a lot of old people, a lot of people who don't have the skills for the modern age, a lot of people who just aren't going to be able to have a lot of money, and there's nothing that a Bernie Sanders socialist approach is going to fix, because even if you took all the money from the rich people, still might not have enough. So Elon Musk is somewhat stealthily combining assets to solve the biggest problem, right? Now, I would have said the biggest problem was North Korea until recently, but it looks like we might have a solution there. Maybe the biggest problem is climate change, but as it turns out, Elon Musk, he might solve that too, just sort of on the side without even trying. Let me draw you the full picture. All right. You know that Elon Musk owns something called the Boring Company, which is a fantastic name for a device which bores tunnels very efficiently. It's a gigantic boring truck sort of a thing that literally just drives down a tunnel and automatically creates this great tunnel. But it creates all this dirt left over because you don't need the dirt in the tunnel. What do you do with the dirt? Well, do you just move it around? Turns out that today's news is that Musk is starting a brick company, literally making bricks out of the stuff that they take out of the tunnels. Now, why is that interesting? Well, if you saw it in isolation, you'd say to yourself, oh, well, that's clever. He's got a thing that bores tunnels, so why not make some bricks out of it? And if you stop there, you would not see the future. So, critics say, well, that helps you a little to have cheap bricks, but the real cost is in the land and the labor. Not for long. Because the labor is going to be robots. We already have, when I say we, technologists already have robots that can read plans and assemble pieces, right? What would be the easiest thing for a robot ever to assemble? Bricks. Is it a coincidence that the future is going to be robots building houses at the same time that Elon Musk is saying, let's make some cheap bricks? So you got your cheap labor, you got your cheap bricks, but it gets better. If you were going to build a house, your big cost is going to be land, right? But you probably saw a story that Bill Gates is looking at building sort of an ideal futuristic town or city on a green field where there's just nothing there. So there's nothing there but cheap land. So if you take this technology and you go where the land is cheap, you've got cheap land, you've got cheap bricks, you've got cheap labor. Now, the beauty of this technology, being able to bore a tunnel easily, is that tunnels are where you can put your water delivery, your utilities. You might have some transportation down there. Maybe the transportation is for people or bicycles. Maybe it's for just package delivery. But if you've got nice tunnels, you've got a seriously good situation. If there's nothing in your way, you can put the tunnels wherever you want them. So you've got your transportation, utilities, and everything else. But you also might be able to put gardens there. Because if you put a light pipe, have you ever heard of that word? There's technologies that are essentially mirrors and glass that can pipe the sun from above to below. And it's more than a window. There's some technology to really spread the light. So underground gardens with no pesticides needed because it's indoors essentially. Your weather's always perfect-ish because you're not outdoors. What if you need some extra dirt? Well, you got dirt, but it might be hydroponic. Then, let's say you're off the grid because you're in some godforsaken part of the world that didn't have a town before, and there was a good reason because there were no facilities, no transportation, whatever. But those things are a lot less important if you've got a Tesla battery connected to your house and solar power. You're practically off the grid. And we're not too far away from 5G, super fast speeds for cell phones and other devices. So if you're looking at fixing up, let's say, New York City, none of this is useful. You're not going to use your boring machine, your robots, your bricks to build something in Manhattan. But most of the world is not Manhattan. It's the Middle East. Now, look how big this is. Suppose you could say to the Middle East, hey, Palestinians, I know you don't want to make a deal, but suppose we put you first in line for, inexpensive housing that would be awesome. How would that be? Well, so suddenly, with this package of stuff, which isn't ready yet, but it's getting close, this package becomes something that can bring peace to places that don't have it. It would transform lives, transform civilizations. It creates jobs, because even though they're robots, there's going to be a lot of new activity, and a lot of that will still require some people. So if you look at anything that Musk is doing in isolation, it just looks like, well, that's sort of interesting. He's got a thing that bores a tunnel. That's cool. I'm glad somebody did that. Hey, he's got a thing that makes bricks. He's working on some robot stuff. He's got some batteries. It's only interesting when you put it all together. So this is probably the future. The ability to build a place where there was none and make it right. Now, what happens if you're looking at some place like Detroit? Let's take Detroit, for example. There's a situation where you got to do a lot of demolition. I'll be talking more about that in the coming months. But there may be places that are not Manhattan where you could just take advantage of the fact that the land prices are already low. And you could just build awesome things that we've never seen before that would take the cost of living down to a trivial level where people can have insanely good lives. Now, keep in mind that the stuff doesn't make you happy. It's not that you've got walls and a roof. It's how you organize it to satisfy everything from the, I'll say feng shui, even though what I'm talking about is just how you feel. Right? I don't believe in feng shui exactly, but I do believe that different spaces make you feel different ways and act in different ways. So you got to get that right, which most of our cities do not, because most of our cities were built piecemeal by different people doing different things. If you started early and said, all right, here are the rules of this town, we're going to make sure that we have all the things that people like here, you could build the most awesome place ever. Bomb shelters. What if the robots start throwing the bricks? All right. So that's the only thing I wanted to share with you on this Periscope. That Musk has some interesting plans. I don't know if he's thinking of them all in one, as one solution to inexpensive housing, but he should, and it would be sort of amazing if he weren't. So I'm assuming that he is. Vertical boring for water wells. Well, I think drilling vertically, we have technology for that. So you don't really need a boring machine for that. All right, so that's the news from technology. And yeah, someday he'll fly all this to Mars and build this stuff on Mars. Yeah, you add desalinization to this mix, and suddenly you've got, additional places that you can build. All right. That's all for now, and I will talk to you all later.